I came to, groaning. My head hurts. I opened my eyes and then instantly squeezed them shut against the blinding white light that filled them. I opened them again, blinking, and looked up. Ropes had been tied around my wrists. They led up to an overhead support beam above me. I looked down. I was hanging from the ceiling, my feet just barely touching the floor. I looked around. Stage lights hooked to portable generators had been erected on either side of me, bathing me in a circle of light. I was still in the basement. I could see Tyrese's body still lying where he had fallen beside the stairway. Before me stood a camera on a tripod. Its red light was blinking. Faintly, from somewhere close by, I could hear a steady scrape sound. "Oh good, you're awake," a voice said from the blackness beyond the periphery of light. Tim stepped into view, grinning. He no longer resembled the cute, sweet teen heartthrob I had come to know and trust over the last month. That Tim had been a mask. I was seeing the real Tim that lay hidden beneath. His face was frightening. It was gleeful and maniacal. His eyes were dancing with psychotic excitement. He had a hunting knife in one hand, a sharpening stone in the other. "It's your time to shine, Cassie," he told me, and then went back to sharpening his knife. "Tim," I said weakly, "what's going on?" He looked at me. "What's going on? This is the moment you've been waiting for, your big break in showbiz. Your 15 minutes are about to begin." "Why are you doing this?" I asked with a whimper. He seemed to ponder that question, stroking his chin thoughtfully. Why am I doing this?" He began to pace back and forth. He cast a glance at me. "Because Mommy didn't love me and Daddy beat me," he told me and resumed pacing. "Because a priest touched me and teachers were mean to me in school. Because I didn't have any friends and girls didn't want to date me." He stopped and turned to face me. His lip was quivering and tears welled in his eyes. "Because society turned its back on me and no one ever gave me a chance to have a normal life," he said in a mock voice and put his head in his hands, emitting several theatrical sobs. He stopped abruptly and looked at me, laughing, wiping away his fake tears. "Multiple choice answer, Cassie. Go on, take your pick. Which explanation do you think best suits me?" His face suddenly darkened, becoming serious. His eyes blazed. "I'm doing this because I like to do this," he seethed. "In fact, I love to do this. I guess you could say it's my true calling." "You're insane, Tim," I said. He laughed. "You sound just like all those psychiatrists I had to deal with. Oh, by the way, that whole sob story I fed you about my mom walking out on me and my dad being a mean drunk?" He kept his hand around his mouth and whispered as if letting me in on a secret. "That was all bullcrap." "Well, some of it anyway. I mean, technically my mom did disappear after I slit her throat and dumped her body in the river, but hey, she shouldn't have threatened to send me back to reform school. And my dad, well, he really was a worthless drunk, but he didn't beat me. He didn't die of liver failure either. Unless you count the 2 loads of double-aught buckshot I fired into his guts." "You don't have to do this," I pleaded. It was all I could think to say. Tim rolled his eyes, annoyed. "Why is it in movies whenever someone is about to be killed, they always tell the person about to kill them, 'You don't have to do this'? I never did get that. That make any sense to you? Do you seriously think someone like me feels like they don't have a choice?" "You're insane," I spat at him. "Hey," he said in a mock hurt tone. "That's not fair. You should be thanking me for this opportunity. Because of me, you're going to be remembered as a star." "What are you talking about?" I demanded. "Ray let me pick you out myself to star in this little flick. I selected your headshot personally. It was really quite generous of him. Plus, he's going to let me do the honors. You see, you've been the centerpiece of this show all along. The leading lady. The others were just the supporting cast. The warm-up to the main event. And you owe it all to me." He walked up to me. I thrashed around, but I was trapped. He He placed the edge of the knife against my cheek. I trembled. He lowered the knife and traced the blade along the top of my chest. "You know," he said, "you have a really cute figure, Cassie. I noticed it when you jumped into the pool to save Tyrese." He drew the blade across my skin, cutting me. "It's a shame I'm gonna have to cut it up." He looked me in the eye and leaned in close as if about to kiss me. "It's gonna be one hell of a rap party," he hissed. I spat in his face. His face contorted with rage, and he snarled and drew back the knife to strike. I screamed. "Enough," a voice demanded from the dark. We both looked. Ray stepped into view. He glared at Tim. "Not yet," he told him. Tim whined like a child. "But you said I could..." "And you will, but not until I finish talking to her." Tim glared at me and then stalked off out of sight. Ray looked at me. "I told you I'd be back, Cassie. I really must commend you for your stellar performance. Even if you did go off script near the end, I did tell you all to feel free to improvise. It really sped up the action, really took the story in an entirely new direction." "Ray, what is all this?" You still don't know? I thought I explained this production to you in detail in our first meeting. This is the wave of the future, Cassie, a new breed of horror film. Super realism, and live action to boot. You and your friends have proved to be quite popular with my subscribers. We've had a very successful test market, and that's not even counting the revenue we'll generate from the home video release of the film. Those who lacked the fortitude to subscribe to the live show will be more than willing to pay to watch the action secondhand. Sergey's clients are going nuts for this, and now that we've proven there is an audience for this genre, more films can follow." He smiled his chilling, soulless smile. "I guess you could say we're going to make a killing with this." Get it? "You'll never get away with this," I said defiantly. I felt a sudden urge of hope. "My agent, Maury, he knows I'm involved with this project, but when I don't come back..." "I already know, Cassie." Another voice spoke. Maury stepped out of the shadows, shoulders sagging. He looked at me, and there was a look of genuine regret on his face. My heart plummeted. My last trace of hope vanished. "Maury?" I whispered. "You too?" He shrugged. "All the kids' agents are in on it. Ray's paying us all a ton for you guys." He looked at me apologetically and shrugged. "It's nothing personal, Cassie, but I only get paid when you get paid. And 15% of nothing is nothing. I got ends I gotta make meet." "You're just gonna leave me here?" Maury lowered his head, ashamed. Ray glanced at his Rolex. "Well, Cassie, it's been lovely, but it's getting late and my viewers are getting restless for the grand finale. As I say in the biz, ciao." He nodded to Tim, who reappeared brandishing his knife, leering at me. "Ready for your close-up?" he asked as he advanced on me. I closed my eyes and screamed. "All right, everyone freeze!" a voice shouted. We all looked. Tyrese, no longer dead, was standing, aiming a small revolver. One of his pant cuffs was hiked up, revealing an empty ankle holster. "LAPD, get away from the girl and raise your hands, all of you!" Ray and Maury complied fearfully, but Tim looked back defiantly. "No!" he screamed shrilly. "She's mine! Ray promised me!" He turned back to me and raised the knife, and I screamed again. A single gunshot rang out, and Tim, eyes open in shock, slumped to the floor. A bullet hole in the side of his head, just above his right ear. Tyrese aimed the gun back on Ray and Maury. "Either of you want to join him? Make one move." Suddenly, from above, I heard the lodge door burst open and a stampede of many feet thundering across the floor. A team of men in SWAT combat gear carrying automatic rifles stormed down into the basement. An hour later, after Ray and Maury had been arrested and taken to jail, I sat in the back of an ambulance with a blanket wrapped around me, still shuddering from the ordeal. By then, the blizzard had died and it had stopped snowing. Police cars and ambulances were parked all along the front of the lodge, policemen moving all around as paramedics wheeled body bags out of the lodge. There was a knock at the rear ambulance door and it opened. Tyrese, or more appropriately, Detective Banks, as I learned his name was, popped his head in. "Hey," he said. "Hey," I replied quietly. "Mind if I sit with you for a minute?" I shrugged. He came in and closed the door. "You all right?" I think so. They're gonna keep me for a day or two for observation." "Well, good." "I thought Tim killed you." He tapped his chest, grinning. "Good old-fashioned Kevlar. Gotta love it. I'm just lucky little Timmy didn't go for the headshot. That was a chance I had to take." "So that's what you were doing when you disappeared?" "Yeah, and getting my guns." "So you're a cop?" "Yep. Been on the force 6 years." He was silent for a moment. I should have said something sooner, but I didn't want to blow my cover. "Well, you saved my life, so I guess I can't hold it against you," I replied. "You gonna be okay?" I shrugged. "Maybe. This whole thing's a lot to deal with." He patted me on the shoulder. "They'll take good care of you. I gotta go, but I'll be by to check in on you." He left, closing the door behind him. Not long after, the ambulance started and pulled away from the lodge, driving down the winding road through the mountain beyond.